Hi everyone, welcome back to the Jogger Hog, and today I'm going to be dividing the southwest of England into states. Basically, this is part 2 of a challenge where I divide the entire UK into 40 states. I outlined some rules in part 1, so go watch that if you're not aware of the rules. But basically, I had to give each place a capital and justify why I wanted to create it. Anyway, let's go. Cotswolds includes all the districts that have land in the Cotswolds, as well as others that would be left isolated without being included, and so the region straddles the boundary between the West Country and the Midlands. All of Wiltshire and Gloucestershire, parts of Worcestershire, and even parts of Warwickshire are all included in this state. Parts of Oxfordshire would be included, but I previously assigned that to the state of Berkshire, so that isn't included here. The state is obviously dominated by the Cotswolds with its distinct architecture and rich history, but also contains several urban areas within it because of how I created it. There are also parts of other areas that are more natural, like the Malvern Hills. The largest of the urban areas is Swindon, with around 185,000 people in it, followed by Gloucester with around 150,000 people. There's also Bath, with just under 100,000 people in it, which has the added bonus of containing a World Heritage Site within it. I've chosen Bath as the capital because it has the historical and architectural importance that characterises the Cotswolds, but in a more urban setting. The state as a whole has a population of over 2 million people and takes up 3,332 square miles. Bristol, as it is currently defined, is also going to become a state. This was suggested by somebody on a previous video I did on county borders, so I'm going to do that here. Bristol has a population of 472,000 people within it, with even more people in its urban area. However, no district had enough of their population in that area to justify annexing them into Bristol itself, so I just left it as is. This means that it doesn't have a capital because it's just a city state. However, that doesn't mean it has no green land at all, because a quarter of the city's land is taken up by parks or other open spaces like Ashton Court and Castle Park. The city obviously had an important role to play in British history, with it being the third largest city in England in the 16th century, and served throughout history as a major port. However, it was also one of the main cities in England to benefit from the transatlantic slave trade, and was a major slave port. However, today, Bristol is a fantastic city with a population of nearly 500,000 people in just over 40 square miles of land. Devon is a state that aligns exactly with the county border and made a lot of sense to just leave alone. Merging it with Cornwall made no sense to either area, considering just how distinct the two are from each other. However, Devon was also large and distinct enough that making it into its own state was possible without any Somerset and or Dorset mergers that would have felt quite awkward. The state has an awful lot of natural areas within it, including 2 national parks in Dartmoor, as well as a decent chunk of Exmoor, which is also in Somerset. In terms of other natural areas, it would also contain all of 3 areas of outstanding natural beauty, with parts of several others. The largest urban area in the state would be Plymouth, with a total of 260,000 people, followed by Exeter, with 129,000 people. I would also make Exeter the capital here because of its historical importance, as well as the large influence it has over the surrounding rural area, with over 400,000 people living in the travel to work area it is the centre of. The travel to work area is a self-contained area that 75% of the area's residents work in. This state has a population of 1.23 million in total and takes up 2,590 square miles. Cornwall is possibly the single easiest state I had to create and easily the most well defined. I could talk for a while about what makes Cornwall unique and why they've been made into its own state, like the food, the history, the people, the landscape, and it even has its own language, Cornish, which is quite closely related to Welsh, although very few people in Cornwall speak it. The Cornish are also an ethnic group recognised on the census. Cornwall also manages to fit in 3 different areas of outstanding natural beauty: the Tamar Valley shared with Devon, the Isles of Scilly, as well as another one labelled simply as the Cornwall area of outstanding natural beauty, along with most of the Cornwall and West Devon mining landscape, which is a World Heritage Site. It also has so many wonderful beaches. However, it is important to mention that Cornwall is one of the poorest parts of the UK due to a variety of different factors, and was eligible to receive funding from the EU as a result of this before Brexit. Cornwall has a population of 572,000 people in its 1,375 square miles of land. I decided to put the capital in the cathedral city of Truro, which is already the county town. However, Truro only has a little over 20,000 people, and the largest urban area in Cornwall, which includes Redruth and Camborne, only has a population of 55,000 people. And of all the largest urban areas covered so far in these hypothetical states, it is easily the smallest. I created a state here that includes the remainder of Somerset and Dorset. I created it because it didn't really fit in with either the Cotswolds or Devon as a whole enough to justify annexing it into either of those, but the two also felt similar enough, as in Somerset and Dorset, that they could be grouped together without causing too much trouble, but do correct me if I've got that wrong. The state as a whole contains a Jurassic coast in its south in Dorset, which is the only natural World Heritage Site in England, with its characteristic chalk stacks and cliffs, and is very important from a geological standpoint. There's also Exmoor National Park in the Somerset portion. The largest urban area within the state is Weston-super-Mare with around 85,000 people, and the capital will be Weymouth because it's the largest town in Dorset, and I thought that'd be fair to the people of Dorset because otherwise this state is fairly Somerset dominated. Devon is also a lot bigger than I thought because these two counties combined, or at least most of them, are still smaller than Devon is, coming in just over 2,300 square miles and a total of 973,000 people. So that's the end of part 2. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you want, and have a good day.